Alright YouTube, what is going on? It is Bigfoot here today, bringing you episode number 8 of my Transport Fever series here in the Orkney Islands. As we can see in the background, in the last episode we made quite a bit of nice progress, going ahead and changing things up quite a bit in the town of Burray, and we're going to continue on with some of that stuff in this episode. Continue basically finishing off the outer islands, and then we're going to jump onto the mainland in episode number 9. I do want to bring your attention though to a few things that I'm going to bring into the game, and the reason for this is because I feel there's a lack of content in certain areas, especially with boats, and that's where we're starting. So as you can see on screen, I've brought in 5 different mods, 4 of them boat related mods, and this is just to go and really bridge the capacity issues we're having on a lot of the boats. Right now in the vanilla game, our smallest boat is the Schaffhausen, and the Schaffhausen has a capacity of 100 and it goes incredibly slow, and on a lot of my boat routes there's just not the demand for that. So I've decided to bring in 4 quite smaller boats. They've got various different attributes to them, different speeds, different capacities, and we'll explore all that in with the live gameplay. But it has been causing me an issue, and I'm hoping that these boats will go and help that out. And then I've also brought in a train at the Class 101, and I don't really have many small multi-unit trains. I only have the Red Arrow, and the Red Arrow is really not ideal for what I'm trying to do right now, so bring in the Class 101, it's much larger. This version of the mod as well has different sizes, a 2 carriage, 3 carriage and 4 carriage version, so it is perfect for me starting out some of my rail routes, and I'll go ahead and add that in this episode. As you can see in the background, I've got a time lapse going on, and this is to try and do some of the infrastructure before today's episode, because there's a lot I wanted to change. At the start of the last episode, I started by focusing on the roads in between towns and upgrading them, mainly from just normal roads up to dual carriageways having 2 lanes on each side. However, I didn't really think about inside towns, and that's really where I start this episode off. There's a lot of congestion starting in towns, and I really do think that's affecting a lot of my internal bus routes. For example, I've got a bus route or 2 in with cities themselves, and the buses are basically getting filled at the first bus stop, and then they're full all the way through, but because there's so much traffic they're going really slow, and then when they get to their destination they empty out, but the bus has already made a loss because it's taken so long to get through the traffic. So I've gone ahead and added in lots more roads. I've not actually built any specific bus lanes, I've really just gone and tried to upgrade as many city roads as I have across most of the towns that I have built in so far. Generally this didn't actually cost me too much, as if there was a part of the road which I couldn't expand or it was going to be like $1 million, I just didn't do it, so I only made the small investments where it cost me usually around about 10,000 to upgrade the roads. Doing that multiple times over, I did spend quite a bit of money, but it was really worth it, and that's really going to future-proof a lot of my cities. I also went and bridged over in between Burray and St Margaret's Hope with the railway bridge. I really need to get that connected up as soon as possible, and we'll explore that in this episode. I also went and built an extra train station in Surin, and this is because Surin is a really big place, and where the train station is right now it is quite good, but it doesn't serve all the town, and I'm still expecting Surin to grow. What this train station will probably do is connect up with the other train station down in Burray, which isn't connected, though that's a bit of a long-term project, and I'm hoping that might go and relieve the bus of its duty, but I do think I'll keep the bus for a few more episodes. I also spent some time building a new harbour up at Rapness. Rapness is one of 2 towns which is not connected yet. I'll have a boat service running from Rapness to I think Eddy, but I'll explore that in this episode, and I'll also have a bus going around the town. And then for the final town which isn't connected up, which isn't on the mainland, that's Rackwick, and that shares the island with Lyoness and Long Hope. I decided to build a road between Lyoness and Rackwick. I was going to do some sort of tri-brid thing, which I'll explain a bit more in the episode, but I decided against that. But this road cost me quite a lot of money to build, probably cost me about 500,000, just because this island has such difficult terrain, it's extremely hilly. And I do worry actually if the bus will be profitable or not on this route, but we'll have to wait and see when we set that up this episode. With all that said, let's get on to some live gameplay. Well, hello there ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to some live gameplay here in episode number 8. We're starting off here in the town of Burray. We did a lot in that time lapse, a lot of road expansion, which was good to see. We've done a lot to do with future planning at Rapness and Rackwick, which we will get to later on in this episode. I want to first bring our attention though to some mods. We can see the train has just left there full from Burray on its way to Soren. We've also got 22 people waiting at Burray, and then we've got our other arrow up here which is also full, and then there is 11 people waiting there. So we're going to start off by looking at the train, because this is where our bread and butter, our money maker really is. If we check out multi-units, that class 101 we've added, we've already unlocked it, which is good. This is one of the earliest trains which wasn't a locomotive, I guess you could say, in the UK. Quite iconic, doesn't look very pretty at all, but it will do the job, and especially for 1965, it's just much better than the Red Arrow. By comparison, we'll probably start with 2 cars, and we've got double the capacity, top speed of slightly less actually, and because it's a diesel locomotive, it's probably going to accelerate a lot less, but it's got a much faster loading speed. Running cost, near enough, about double, maybe 1.8 times, so we do need to consider that factor, but we're going to be able to carry pretty much the demand for the line, which is quite exciting. And again, if we modify a few more things, which I want to do to start off this episode, in between Burray and Soren, then I think we can get this really high in demand. The only downfall is, if we go onto the line manager, we can see that we're doing very well financially, but if we're to upgrade this route to those 2 trains, I think it's going to cost me quite a bit of money. If we add that train there and we do replace now, that's going to cost 4 million alone, which is quite a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to wait for that, but while we wait for that, let's make the changes I want to make. So in the last episode we addressed Burray lots and lots, but when I was doing the editing, I haven't addressed Soren at all. So what we need to do is we need to change that pronto. What I want to do is I want to move the bus away from near the train station to serve a part of the town which is really not served. I want to serve the top part of the town, and then my hope is that people will walk to the train station at the bottom end of the town. What I need to do here is we are going to add 2 platforms to this train station. We're also going to add extra street connections. So this little piece of track here we're going to remove. We're then going to upgrade to 2 platforms. That's going to remove some buildings. Going to cost me quite a bit, but this is going to be worth it long term. It's just going to increase the sphere of influence of the building. And then if we add in ourselves second street connections, doesn't look like we can do that. That's probably because of this mess here. So let me get rid of that. Again, costing quite a bit there, but there we go, that's perfect. So that's now increased the sphere of influence to this bottom end of the town, and then we'll also do the same over here, and that's interesting. That's a tram. I'm not really thinking of trams yet, but we're now starting, as we did in the last episode, to focus a lot on intercity transport. As we can see in Burray, it's maybe needed, so we could have a look at that quite shortly, but I do feel we have a good plan for this episode, which is to connect up the remaining towns, sort financially the trains out and the boats out with the new mods, and then in the next episode we're going to start connecting up some of the towns on the mainland. We're going to do all the roads and really just try to attack it the best we can. Anyway, so continuing on from where we were, so that's that train station upgraded. Much bigger sphere of influence now, which is good. I'm hoping this will now attract more people to use the train as it is anyway. The next thing we need to do though is move the buses, and that is going to be a bit of a task. So as you've seen in the time lapse, I upgraded a lot of internal roads, and the reason for that was because there's a lot of traffic, but also it means that cars have an alternative lane to go in so they don't have to get stuck behind the buses. And the reason I have done that is to just try and ease congestion, but also make my buses much more punctual. What we're going to do is we're going to get the bus that goes in between Burray and Soren over onto this road on the left, and then it's going to come up to the top of the town and come in that way, so it really doesn't touch the bottom of the town at all. And then I'm going to add a second internal route in Soren for the bottom of the town, and that really just removes any conflict of interest between the bus and the train. Now you can also see that I've got a new train station here, and you might be confused, why have you got a second train station here? Well, eventually I'm thinking this train station might connect up with our other train station in the town of Burray. However, that's a bit more long term, but again, that's serving a different part of the town, so it could be a good adventure to work towards. It's not a top priority, but I'm just placing it down there just in case I do decide to execute it at a later stage. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate around this top part of the town, stop at quite a few places, and I'm quite happy to stop at a few of the older bus stops. If we stop there, if we stop there, possibly there, and then we're actually going to come back out the way we came in. Yeah, that's perfect. So we're really going to shake things up here. I don't think we need to make any changes down in Burray, as we dealt with that in the last episode. Just a quick look at the financial sheet. We've really got 4 routes which are struggling. The bus around Evie, that's brand new. It's also using post buses, which I don't even have access to anymore, so that's a bit of a interesting one. Weir is struggling. Eddie, I just upgraded the buses on that route, so that is something which I can have a look at. One of the suburban routes in Burray is not doing very well at all actually, which is kind of disappointing considering there's a lot of people on the buses. I just don't quite understand why that is the case. It's maybe just because it's so new, it's not really updated, but willing to run the risk on that, and you can see there's lots of people waiting, which is quite confusing. And then of course Longhope to Lioness. I have made that route a little bit more direct actually, which is a good thing, and I think we might do some bus upgrading later on in this episode as well, because we've now got much faster buses. We don't need to go at the 31 miles per hour anymore. We can use our new, what are they called, Mercedes-Benz. These go up to 40 miles per hour, so I think that'd be a good shout. For that though I do need money, so let's speed up the game. Let's quickly jump back into Route Manager though. Let's grab our route in between the two towns, which may I say is doing quite well at a nice 200k. I think that's going to drop, but I'm really just about supporting the train right now. So let's have a think here. So after bus stop number 13, we're no longer going to call at 14 and 15. As you can see, the bus has now moved over, which is good. So after 13, we're now going to come into the top of the town, and then we're just going to make our way around in a circle like so. And then we're going to leave back via Green Lane, and then Green Lane we're going to return to the Crescent at stop number 7. So that means that I need to delete bus stops 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and that should work out, except it's not quite perfectly. Why is that? Because 1 has moved to the Crescent. That's technically right actually. It's just not going back the way it's came. It's actually visiting Green Lane at stop number 14, and then it's going back through the town the long way, which isn't elegant at all. So what we need to do is sort that out. I'm just having a think what the best thing to do is here. I think we need to just put down a way marker, to be honest. So to resolve that issue, I just added in an extra stop. I'm expecting the town to continue to grow out here, and I've also, I guess, pre-reserved some railway track area, just because if I built this train station, I might as well do the tracks as well before again we get more town creep, which is definitely beginning to happen. So I'm quite happy about that. So that really moves everything this way, and that means now we can already see a lot of people have gone for the train. Win-win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my remaining 5 million. Now this is it. This is my final loan, but I really feel this is a justified one. We're just going to use it mainly for the trains and get more people moving, which I'm very excited about. If we do get into more financial bother, we'll cross that bridge if it happens, but I don't think we should. I think now we've got so much infrastructure down that we really should be safe. We just might need to wait a considerable amount of time before doing anything else, which I'm quite happy to do. Let's go to the trains then, and let's go and upgrade these. Currently at 135k profit. I think that's going to change quite considerably. I am a bit concerned at this end though. This is the end that might not get as much exposure or usage. I do think that we should be fine now, because as we can already see, we've got 50 people waiting. And I do think as well, if we can maybe try and use this port somehow. I'm not really... What I want is I want to bring back the boat in between Soren here and Egglesey. And we're a bit up and down with the boats right now, to be honest. We can see that we've got some successful, some not so successful. We need the new boats to come in, and I just need time really to pass before we actually get them in. Right now the shipyards are still on just the normal boats, unfortunately. When we get those new boats, when we trigger the unlock years, things are going to change in the water, that's for sure. So with that done, we can probably leave this now and hope that it continues to grow. I am a bit skeptical now, we've only got 9 people on the train, but things should hopefully change for the better. I think we should add a second bus route in here though. I think that's what we should do just to try and support this the best we can, because it's quite a big town, Soren. I can imagine it's maybe the 3rd biggest town if we filter here by population. So yeah, it is the 3rd, yep, I did think that. So we're doing phenomenal actually, considering it's on its own island. But I mean, it really is a suburb, I guess you could say, of Burray. St Margaret's Hope up there as well. I mean, 3 towns very, very close to each other in population, so that was a good guess, quite happy about that. What I'm going to do though is we are going to add in another bus route. So where have we not served? Well, we can come out to this bus stop here actually, I think that's quite a good idea. Let's have that bus stop there be used, let's have this bus stop here be used. Come along, have another bus stop here. We can come down, I mean I don't think we need to come down here, we can stop. Let's think, we can stop there, and just look back round up here maybe. I think that's a good bet. It's really interesting to see actually, we've not got a lot of people waiting for buses up this part of the town, which is kind of disappointing, but I do think it's because we've probably got too many buses on the route anyway, and we can transfer some of those over. Let's go and create our new bus route then. Let's start out here at Mill Lane. Let's bring it back into the town along by the train station. We can then come down round. There's actually no need to go down there, is there? And there we go, managed to solve it. It was just a bit of a dumb error by me. So overall we're just serving a different part of the town which isn't being served by the yellow bus. Quite happy about that indeed. I am a bit confused about what to do because some of the bus stops in this town are doing not too bad. I think the yellow route, it probably gets into town, the buses are empty, and then by the time it's ready to leave town the buses are full again. So I do think that we just need to put a few buses on here, but I don't think we're going to take any off the old route, that's the main thing. So as we can see, the year has come 1969, massive year, because we've just got 3 new boats, and that is super exciting. We'll go and have a look at those very, very shortly. Let's close this, and let's get some new buses on here. I'm just going to go for some Daimlers, and the reason for this is because we're in a city. I don't think there's actually going to be a ridiculously high demand for this route, to be honest. But I do think that it actually might take some pressure off the yellow bus because people might come out to this bus stop here. This bus stop, Mill Lane, it's on the edge of town. It's quite handy, to be honest. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. I am thinking about this now actually. It might be worth upgrading all the buses on this yellow route here to the new Mercedes-Benz, capacity of 15, higher speed. The reason for that is because I can have less side or two shares on the road. I don't know, we'll come back to this and see how things are doing. You can already see a few people waiting around the town for our new bus in and around Surin. Okay, so with the boats, let's turn our attention away from here because we've got a lot of people waiting at a lot of different docks, which is how it should be. I have just had another thought though. Right, let's look at the boats. I'm getting very distracted here, there's so much going on in my head. So the 3 new passenger boats we have are Project Boat, capacity of 93, top speed of 32, which in comparison, let's look at the top speed of the Schaffhausen, 17 miles per hour, so it's nearly double, which is big, big, big news. So we might as well switch to that already. The big thing is though, the running cost is significantly higher. The PS, this is a much smaller boat and it's one of the reasons why I brought it in. It's not got a very good top speed, it's the same as the Schaffhausen, but the big thing is, compared to the Schaffhausen, it has half the running cost, but it's got half the capacity. So this boat will really just fit a lot of those smaller routes, which really don't have the demand yet, so I'm quite happy about that. And the good thing is, we can maybe put 2 of these in for 1 Schaffhausen, and that means then the frequency is going to be a lot better, a lot more stable, and that will really even out, I guess, the running cost and the capacity and the overall balance of the route, because you'll see a lot of these longer distance routes, they'll be really profitable and then they'll be really negative. The boat will arrive in the harbour, go back to profitable, back to negative, you get the idea. Finally, the Moskva. This is sort of in between, I guess you could say. 61 capacity, 23 miles per hour. Running cost really isn't too much more. It's actually slightly less than the Schaffhausen, even though it's... Okay, yeah, so we've got a lot to play with here. Let's actually have a look at our routes and let's see what is going on with them right now. So currently our boat to Evie, interestingly, is probably doing the best, but I think that's probably because that just arrived in harbour. I don't think it is at that profitability all the time. Oh, now that's interesting. So quite a few big unlocks there. The MAN SL, so I think that's going to be our best bus. Then we've got the hovercraft. The hovercraft is really, really good. And then we've also got the Class 103, which is probably going to be one of our most used locomotives for freight, I think, going forward, when we finally get freight onto the rails, which might be a bit sooner than we think, but I'll come back to that later on. If we refresh this view, we can now see the hovercraft, so it's got a really good top speed, it's got a low running cost, it's not got a big capacity though, that's the only thing, so I could run lots of these, and I think that's what we might do on some of our routes, but we'll go through them all and see how they're doing. As we can already see, the EV route has dropped down to 44,000. It's coming into harbour already, which is good. I do think though this would benefit from maybe some smaller boats, and I think that's what we're going to start off with. Big question is, how much money does the hovercraft cost? It costs 500,000, so what I think we might do on this EV route, for example, just because it takes 11 minutes to complete the whole route, is we're going to replace... Let's pause first of all. Because the boat is in harbour right now, it looks like it has just loaded up with 100 people, which is a shame. We'll actually let that set sail. So that's that now set sail. We'll now go into upgrade this. We're going to go and put on... I think we're going to go for some of the PS boats. So we're maybe going to have 2 PS boats taking over the capacity going forward. So we replace now, I actually gain some money. And then let's buy another PS boat at the other end, and let's set that onto the EV route like so. So we've gone down, I think, 10 capacity in total, but we've now got much more regular ships, which should be good, and I think should hopefully make that a bit more consistent long term. Next route is our boat. Let's go over to Whitehall. Whitehall's quite an interesting one. This is a long one as well. As we can see, a running time of 18 minutes, that's just too long. First of all, how many people are on the boat? 54, not too bad. We've got, how many people waiting? We've got 11 people waiting there, and then we've got 28 people waiting there. So what rings a bell with me is the hovercrafts. I think hovercrafts will probably be the best. There's not high capacity, and they're quite far away, so the hovercrafts is definitely the best for this route. Let's go and replace that. I gain a bit more money again, which is good. Then we can probably get at least 1, if not 2 hovercrafts out onto this route. We'll just start with the 1 for now, and we'll come back and see how this is doing. Next route, the Burray to Egglesey. This one is a real emotional roller coaster. I do think that because it's got quite a short journey time and because we've just recently moved the Burray station, I think this could actually be left, or... I mean, first of all, what's the capacity looking like? So we've got 87 people on the boat right now. We've got 53 waiting. I think the time the boat gets over there, and with a train pulling in, that'll probably jump up to around about 70. So I feel this is actually not too far off being ideal for this route. I could consider the Moskva. It's got, what, an extra 6 miles per hour there. Yeah, I think we might leave that one actually, because I'm quite happy with it generally. I don't think... I mean, Project Boat, we could put this on, but it does cost a lot of money. You know what, let's give it a go. Let's be ambitious here. Let's put Project Boat on. So similar capacity, though it's got a much faster speed, nearly double, so that should really make that crossing much better. Next up, Burray to Weir. So this is so short, this route. I can't really see us changing much here, to be honest. We've got currently 27 people on the boat, which isn't a lot, though the boat is currently loading up with lots of people. So 37. So interestingly, actually, we can maybe downgrade this boat to something a bit smaller. I'm thinking the Moskva would be perfect. It's only got a capacity of 61. 23 miles per hour, but the running cost is probably quite similar, so let's go for that. I know this boat is very old. I think it's coming to the end of its lifespan. It's not even available for me to select anymore, so I think that would be a good upgrade. I have to pay 500,000, but I'm not too bothered about that. Eddie to Egglesey. This one is not doing very well at all. It's quite a long distance, and I can understand why it's not doing very well. We're not going to touch that for now though, and we're going to, I think, leave the Rackwick to Eddie as well, because we're about to make a change up in this part of the world, and that leads us on nicely to Rapness. Rapness is one of the towns I want to connect up this episode, and I think it is time for it to happen. Currently with a population of 100, not very large at all, but let's go ahead and connect it up. This port, I think, is going to connect down to Eddie. I was half contemplating connecting it down to Surin, but I do think it's just a bit too long a distance. So what we'll do is we'll connect these two up, and then hopefully this means that the boat between Eddie and our wonderful port in Egglesey should hopefully get a bit more busy, because right now that boat's quite empty, but I can see it getting much more full with this addition we're about to make. Let's add in another harbour then. Let's point the harbour in the right direction towards the water. That might help. What we're going to do on this route is I'm just going to start off with one very small hovercraft. So I know it sounds a bit pathetic, but I think until we get a bit of demand, and there's really not a lot of people in Rapness, I can't imagine a lot of them are going to want to travel, to be honest. So I think starting off like this isn't too bad an idea. So that is that route now named. However, it's taking quite an interesting route. It's going down one side of the islands, going in one direction, then it's going round the islands back the way. I can't really do too much about that. Unfortunately, boats don't have waypoints, from my understanding, like buses do. So we're just going to have to leave it, unfortunately. I don't think it'll affect it too much, but I would have liked them to basically be running the same route, this one to the right. If anyone's got any ideas on how I could fix that, please let me know down in the comment section below, because that could cost us a bit of money, and that means then there's also going to be a bit more traffic in this entrance here with our boat over to Egglesey. So now that's done, let's connect up this town here. Already pretty much built the bus route, to be honest. I just need to add in a depot, join up all the bus stops, and then get this route and just sort of leave it for the time being. I'm not expecting too much from this, I just want to provide a service to the town. I then think after this, yeah, I mean, we're only going to have the Groves that only cross over. Church Lane's going to serve the harbour. I do expect us to come back and later on add in more bus stops as this town grows, but that's dependent on the boat. We could always add an airport, because this place is quite, you know, far away. I think this is also part of Orkney Island as well, which also has an airport in real life. I realise I've not spoke about airports in a while, but I'm not going to follow the rule where there has to be an airport there in real life for me to build one. I'm just going to have airports really wherever on the islands, and the reason for that is just because transport fever and airplanes is so difficult to get profitable consistently, and I think that's just too much of a limitation. So that's that route now named. Let's just have a very quick look at what we've got going on here. We have got the new MAN SL bus, so it's not too much of a difference, to be honest. The big thing is though, I guess, is it goes 10 miles per hour extra, which is nice. What I mean by there's not much difference, there's only one in capacity. What I'm going to do up here for Rapness though is we're just going to put 3 Daimlers on, because again I don't think there's going to be too much interaction with this route at all. And we can now leave this for the time being. I do want to fly back over here though. We've not touched Grobster and Whitehall in a while, but we can just see how much fuel there is to move. Does the town justify it though? It doesn't really justify it, and nor does Whitehall, because they're both full on capacity. This is quite unfortunate and is really meaning that we've got a lot of leftover fuel which we need to sort of move out, but there's not really any towns close enough right now to accept it, so I'm just going to have to leave that as it is. We're going to continue down the way here though to St Margaret's Hope, because we have gone and we just got so much demand to move people in between these two towns. I'm pretty sure the demand is for Burray and St Margaret's Hope mainly. I mean, we have a bit of demand for Cleet, don't get me wrong, but I think most of the demand is between these two towns. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a train. I went ahead and built the bridge in the time lapse at the start, and I think it's now time to pretty much get the train going. This does mean that I can get rid of the bus route in between the two towns, but it does mean I can reroute those buses and have them as internal buses, which I think is a good idea. I think I also might go and, with Burray and St Mary's situation, I can put some buses onto that route as well. I think I've decided really now that I'm not going to allow for a train to continue up to the mainland, and that is final. Again, if you've got any reason why I guess I should continue on, then please let me know, but I think I've decided that I'm going to stop the train at Burray, which I think is fair. Let's start off now by really jumping in and building ourselves a train depot, so we can have a small train depot just off the side here. I am realising I might not actually have enough money for a train, but we can start off maybe with a red arrow while we sort out the buses, and then we can upgrade the train at a later stage to the class 101. Let's rotate this around quickly and let's see how much a red arrow costs again. So we also have the actual Mirage train. I kind of forgot about this. That costs a bit too much right now though, but yeah, I think we'd probably never even touch that train, to be honest, because if, for example, the 2-car class 101 is not enough, then we'd probably just upgrade to the 3-car and then the 4-car, because it does scale a bit nicer with running costs, and also, yeah, I think that'd be the best bet, to be honest. And it's also, the Mirage has got a worse off loading speed as well. Does go slightly faster, but what, only 8 miles per hour. I don't think that's going to make too much difference on this short sprint. So let's grab ourselves a red arrow to start off with. Let's buy that for 1.7 million, and let's get this on the Burray to Hope railway route. Now it's time to go and adjust our buses. I think we are not going to just delete the route straight away. What we'll do is we'll start to append it at one end. We'll then remove buses from other end. So I think we'll just append what's going on here in St Margaret's Hope. Then we will remove the stops up in Burray, and then we'll deal with Burray in a second. I think overall this bus route is actually doing quite well. Not surprised, because there is a lot of demand. It's actually not doing very well. It's actually in the negative. I'm very surprised at that. I'm finding that quite a bit now though. There's a lot of demand for a lot of my bus routes, but we're just not making money. And I think that's probably due to a mixture of factors. There's probably too much demand. I'm getting stuck in traffic. I should maybe have terminuses at each end. I mean, the route's very close to being profitable, but it's interesting that it's not. I don't think we need, for example, Mercedes-Benz running around the town, that is for sure. So we'll come back to this we'll maybe come back to changing the buses at a later stage. But let's go and change the route first of all. So as we can see, this is the change I've made. We've still got a circle, but it's a point-to-point circle ending at Windsor Road, the drive, at the train station. This does mean that the bus route shouldn't ever be too empty because it's always heading round to the train station. We now just need to wait for the demand to sort itself out. We can then add some more buses on, and then we can adjust the train, because I'm expecting the train now to get quite busy just because we have no bus route in between two quite large towns. So the final thing I want to do this episode is finish off the connection between Lyoness and Rackwick. Originally, I did think about connecting up Rackwick, having like a transport hub round about here, and then have a connection over to Lyoness and then Longhope. However, I built the road just between Rackwick and Lyoness itself, just to allow for a bit more of a direct service. The landscape on this island is absolutely awful. It is been a real bugger, and it did cost me quite a lot of money to just build this road, probably about 500,000 in total, and it's still quite a long journey even to get to Lyoness. All in all, if we're looking at it closely, it's probably actually quite similar to the journey round from Long Hope. That has now been optimised when we built our new road, or we, I guess, changed the road at the start of the episode in the time lapse. The road originally used to come along by the coast, but I've actually done some terraforming and tidied it up, and you can barely see where it used to be. It used to come in at this bus stop here at Park Lane, which is no longer functioning. What we are going to do though is we're going to connect up Rackwick, and I think long term we will have a road go up through this valley here, and then have a harbour somewhere over here. You can actually come up via this valley here, have a harbour not too far from Stromness and have a direct ferry connection over to there, and that would be the best way I think for this island to connect up to the mainland. Might also have something similar from Lyoness, maybe over to Orford, or we could have connections going over to Cleet, St Margaret's Hope, Burray area, but we'll see how things go. Let's start off by just getting this bus route on the go though, and that's the final town which we need to connect up before we tackle the mainland in the next episode, and that's why I really want to get it done this episode. I realise that this episode has just been quite fragmented, to be honest. It's been a bit all over the place. That's not usually the plan. I'd want to have quite a consistent, easy flowing episode, but we've been doing a lot of small different projects in this episode, so we have been jumping around a fair bit. Anyway, we're only going to cover a few bus stops here in Lyoness, just because I don't need to go around the whole town. The bus itself is long enough, and then once we get back here we're going to stop at the drive, stop at St John's Road, and then Grove Road again. The final thing I need to now do is just go and place some buses on to the route. We have got some new buses. We did get the MAN SL bus in this episode. It can go up to 50 miles per hour, and on a journey which is this distance, I'm going to go for those buses. I've already got 4 buses out on this route. I sent them away early just because it takes them so long. 2 of them have already arrived in Rackwick, which is good. Already actually seen people wanting to move. Rackwick, population of 90, very small village in the grand scheme of things, but we've got 4 of those MAN SL buses which have a capacity of 16, so overall there 64 passengers we can move between those 4 buses. Frequency is going to be awful, but we're going to be able to meet the demand for now. I guess a fair amount of people might want to be going from Lyoness. Lyoness at a population of basically 300 now, so we can expect a lot more people to go one way rather than the other. With that said though, that pretty much brings me to the end of this episode. We are going to tackle the mainland in the next episode. Let's just very quickly have a fly around and see how things are going. So I'm not honestly surprised that our train doing exceptionally well in between St Margaret's Hope and Burray. When I get a bit more finance, which I'm going to have to wait for because I've now maximised my loan. That's a nice thumbnail, isn't it? That's a very nice thumbnail. Though I don't think we're going to go for that actually. I'm thinking about the class trains, but we are going to have to upgrade this train because there is a lot of demand, and that could be a big money grab. Right now if we check out our other train isn't actually doing that good, and I know the reason why that is. I believe Billy Twister in the comments section below, he pointed this out. I've still not really sorted out Brunei, to be honest. I'm actually causing myself a real headache and probably a financial loss. We can see a lot of vehicles are really struggling, and I really need to tackle this. I think though we just need to get rid of the bus entirely in between the 2 towns and solely rely on the train, and then from that we'll start to see much more profit coming from our route between Brunei and Surin, because right now it really needs to be doing good and it's just not at all, which is a real nuisance. Then outside of that, we've made a few changes up here. We have connected up Rapness. This is doing not too bad by the looks of it. We've got 1 hovercraft going between the 2, which is full, nice to see. Financially, the boat health is much better than it once was. We've got a phenomenal success between Braeswick and Whitehall actually. That's really good. We might have to add some more of these hovercrafts onto this route. Not surprised at that, to be honest, because there is a fair amount of demand, but we used to have a 100-seat boat on that route, which was taking a ridiculously long time. However, with these hovercrafts, they can move at some speed, so I can see why we're doing so successful there. Again, I think we might need to have a look and see how we're doing on the Braeswick to Eddy route. Again, we might just need a ship change, and I think we will do that in the next episode. Similarly, we've got our boat from Eddy to Egglesey. That's interestingly still in the negative, though it has got a lot more people travelling on it, and I think the reason for that is the connection into Rapness, into that same port. Going forward though, we're going to have to probably change that because the frequency, it's just not good enough. With that said though, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to make edits into the next episodes and tackle the mainland. And there we have it, that brings us to the end of the episode. Let's have a quick look at the maps. Really not too much has changed in this episode. We went and made a few changes up in the very top of the map. We added in our new ferry in between Eddy and the town of Rapness, and also gave Rapness a little bus route. And then down at the bottom we also connected up the town of Rackwick with Longhope. Quite a long bus journey that, and I'm really interested to see how that fares up in the next few episodes. Two things I want to mention. I recently said that I'm going to be starting live streams, and that's still the plan, hoping to get around to that next week. Right now, my aim is to try and have an episode out about every 3 days. As I said, because of the new upcoming Transport Fever 2 coming out on December 11th, I want to try and increase the regularity that these episodes go up. However, recently it's been down to about 5 days, and that's mainly just because of work. Work for me really fluctuates, it goes through peaks and troughs, and right now it's on a big peak. Yesterday I worked 12 hours, which is quite grueling, so it's meant that when I've been getting home, last thing I want to do is edit, and editing these videos can take up to about 3 hours right now, just with the effort I'm now putting in. If you want to keep up to date on how the editing and when new episodes will be released firsthand, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and Discord, links are down in the description below. The aim is to try and get back to 4 days at least. If not, I'll try and get back to 3. 3's the aim anyway, and I'm hoping to try and do a bit better in the near future. The second thing I want to mention is about the financial situation in game, and I'm not happy with it, to be honest. What I'm going to do, I think, in the start of the next episode is I want to go on to the mainland, but I feel I need to address quite a few of the unprofitable routes, particularly some of the bus routes we've got in and around the city of Burray. Those are just at the back of my mind, so what I think I'll start off the next episode with is a time lapse of me editing those, because I'm not going to fill up another episode going over negative routes. We've done that, but I do need to address this issue. As this is a very hard and challenging map, and also on hard mode, money just isn't ever going to be that great, to be honest. I might get to a stage where I have multiple successful railway routes, but at the end of the day I'm always going to have loss-making routes just to make other routes viable. As part of that challenge, I'm continuously in this cycle of going to and from being in a good state to being in a not good state, and right now I would say we're not in a good state, so I'm going to have to address some of that in the next episode. I'm hoping that episode is also going to be out in 3 days time, but who knows. But that brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like rating and subscribe if you are new around here. Go down into the description below and check out my Twitter, my Discord and my Patreon. All the links are down there, and any support you can show me on any of those would be greatly appreciated. A massive thanks again to Nicole H for supporting me over on Patreon. And that is all, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bigfoot, and I'm out.